everybody, hope you're doing okay. Welcome to a place called Buckland in Dorking. Now I thought it was about time I did a Shoeoff. Got the Endorphin Elite and the Vaporfly 3. Unfortunately I didn't manage to get a pair of the Evo 1s. I'm not sure that actually ended up doing my size in the end, because I never saw anything past I think a UK 11. So did you get a pair? I know Robin got a pair and has already done a PB half marathon in them, so can't be bad. Better wearing them than putting on StockX or eBay, I always think. I've got the Endorphin Elites on. I haven't really spoken too much about them yet, but I've done about 30 or 40 miles in them now, and I've done a park run and a couple of sessions. The session today is 12 minutes tempo and 6 by 4 minutes. So I thought I'd do the 12-minute tempo in the Endorphin Elite, swap over and do the first 3 4-minute intervals in the Vaporfly 3, and then finish off doing the last 3 back in again in the Endorphin Elite. Because I tend to do the Vaporfly last, so I always think that maybe I'm slightly biased, so I'll put the shoe that I perhaps think is my slightly less favourite one last to see if it actually helps. So I've got them on now, and they do feel nice and light. It's kind of funny to think that 2 actual shoes of the Evo 1 in the stock size are about the same weight as one of the Endorphin Elites in my size. They're about 270 in my size compared to about 255 in the Vaporfly 3. So slight edge to the Endorphin Elite there, but they feel nice and bouncy, as Sue would say, and they're definitely not a brick. But I've had a couple of good runs in the Vaporfly 3. I've done 18:33 5K in April, and I did the Westminster Mile the other week in 5:37. Not a great time, but it's not bad for the fitness on that. I've entered an 800. Well, I will be entering an 800, shall we say, in December. So that's going to be interesting as well. Right, I'm going to run along Dungates Lane for the actual intervals, which I'm hoping is about 1 kilometre of tarmac, slightly downhill going that way. So just getting ready to go in the Endorphin Elite. It's got a bit of track to do on first, so we'll crack on with that. And then I think the sort of technique here would be to aim to get back at the car so I can change shoes, because I've not much of a recovery. Matt's given me only 1 minute and 15 seconds between the 4-minute intervals, so I need to be in the same place, don't I? Logistics of trying to do Shoeoffs and a session at the same time, not entirely easy. Maybe not the obvious route choice for an elite road racing shoe, but it's quite firm underfoot here. I think I'm aiming for about 7-minute miles for 12 minutes. So Endorphin Elites, they feel fairly similar to the Vaporfly 3, just a bit more loose of fit. Fortunately, the fit wasn't as wide as I feared, which does make it at least easy to get on, and for soft without being too soft, should we say. Okay, 12-minute rep done, and I'm into the actual next percent. Just putting them on actually makes me feel like they're a lot softer, but let's see how they feel like on the actual run. Yeah, I sort of quite like the Endorphin Elite, but I'm still trying to work them out. I think maybe just a bit too sort of squidgy soft, not perhaps a rebound, but we'll see on these intervals. I've got another 30 seconds to go, so let's lock up the car and head off for the 4-minute intervals. Okay, this is the first one done. I know a lot of people complain about the arch in Alphaflys and Vaporflies. I hadn't really noticed it before, but putting on the Vaporfly 3s there, really did notice there was more arch support. And for someone like me who used to take a size 12, and now perhaps with old man syndrome slide out to a 13, I actually think I like that. I remember my cycle shoes had the sort of maximum arch support insoles in my specialist shoes. So yeah, if you don't like something digging into your arch, then I can see that'd be a problem. If you feel the need of support there, I think it helps. I think it helps with the lockdown for me as well. That was a downhill one though, so I actually sort of overshot the tarmac here, so that's why I'm basically still holding the camera on a track. But next one I'm going to go back uphill and see how we go. Might be a bit harder this way for sure. Right, had to catch the GoPro like it's some sort of train button for the old signalman. Right, back uphill to the start. Okay, 4 down. First one in the Endorphin Elite. I was quite pleased to actually change shoes exactly on 75 seconds, so I didn't really waste any recovery time. And what's harder, changing shoes sitting down or a little light jog come walk on recoveries? Anyway, serve the purpose of getting into them. So that was a downhill one again. What I did last time was the 5th one, I was sort of like halfway up the hill and back down again, and then the last one all the way uphill to the car. So I'll try and do the same sort of thing to replicate what I've been doing. And so this one will be 20 seconds to go, halfway up the hill for 2 minutes, back down, and then back up again all the way for the last one. Right, okay, one more. Thank goodness for that, it's quite hard work. I think I prefer the Vaporflies to the feel of them, Well, we've got one more to go, so let's see how we get on. So let's dive into the spreadsheet. Just a reminder of what I did. 12-minute tempo in the Endorphin Elite, 3 4-minute intervals with 75 seconds rest in the Vaporfly 3s, and then same again in the Endorphin Elite to finish off. So it's interesting putting that tempo in at the start. This is Matt's sessions, Matt Reese, the Welsh runner, who's my coach. So normally when I do a Shoeoff, I don't really do like a full-on interval to start off. So that's quite a good way of actually getting the heart rate up. And it's interesting, actually, I averaged 723. It was mainly more up than down, though. And it's quite interesting looking at the power, 404 watts there, compared to the downhill ones, which are the ones in orange here, which were a lot faster, but the power was less. So perhaps that shows that the power and Garmin power is questionable benefit, because it certainly felt like I was working harder, even though I was going downhill, than I was in the 12-minute interval, but interesting nonetheless. In the actual 4-minute intervals, the first one was downhill, the last one was uphill, and the one in the middle I sort of went halfway up the hill then back down again, so I could actually then run back to the car on the last one. And it's interesting that the actual paces were pretty much identical, give or take a second. The heart rates were lower in the Vaporfly 3, but I think that's mainly down to the fact that they were first, and I did have also that 3-minute rest after the tempo. But having said that, it did sort of feel like to me that the Vaporfly 3 was the shoe that sort of felt more comfortable. Not comfortable as in pure comfort, but more comfortable in terms of a shoe that I felt like I was able to run fast in. I think it's interesting that the Endorphin Elite, although performance-wise was the same, it wasn't quite the same sort of response and bounce you get from the Vaporflies, which I think is quite unique, actually. I still don't think any other shoe really has that same sort of feeling, even with the ones with the P-Bax foams. So, yeah, the P-Bax in the Endorphin Elite, I think it's called Power Run PB, isn't it? It feels a bit like, I always think it feels a bit like polystyrene. I don't feel the sort of the plate so much in that. And yeah, it's a nice shoe, but just sort of maybe it's just slightly losing a bit of edge for me. So I think these sort of shoe-offs are interesting now, because the actual difference in performances are very difficult to detect. I mean, I think you would have to repeat these several times to see if there's any real heart rate difference, because of the fact that you're doing it on more tired legs, as it were. But certainly there wasn't any amazing change in performance there. And even at the end, I think I was maybe 1 or 2 seconds quicker coming back up the hill. But I think being the last rep, I think I was just trying that much more subconsciously to get to the end. So I don't think you can really read into that. And obviously my heart rate there was a bit higher, as I said. So I think it does come down to more these days around what shoe do you actually prefer to wear. Is it a shoe that actually fits you the best? Is it a shoe that you like the response the best? Some shoes are more softer than others, like the Adidas ones tend to be a bit firmer relatively than the Vaporflies and the Endorphin Elites. I don't think none of them are sort of squidgy soft. I mean, the most squidgy soft one I think was the New Balance one, which I hadn't really picked up for a couple of versions now. But certainly, I think the Vaporfly 3 always feels like it's a nice sort of combination to me of being soft, but not sort of squidgy soft like in the Invincible. I always get that sort of bounce back, but not in a sort of a harsh way. So, yeah, it's interesting doing this, and I think it sort of confirms that once you've found a shoe that you like, even though I've now got the Vaporfly 3 over the Vaporfly 1, to keep with it. But yeah, obviously nice to sort of try some other ones just to see how the other ones are catching up. And I think they are largely catching up. I think you would do well if you had the Endorphin Elite and didn't have any Vaporflies, or for whatever reason you didn't like the Vaporflies. But yeah, for me, I think probably more testing to come, but it does sort of show that Vaporfly 3 is the one that I sort of like looking to reach for now. I think I would also use my Vaporfly ones as well, but I think there's this feeling now, well, the Vaporfly one's a bit of an old hat. It'd be nice to sort of like go into a more modern shoe. But having said that, I'm not sure what I would actually use for a marathon if I did one again. Well, I think I will do one again, but I'm not quite sure when, because I've got this 800 campaign coming up. So nice to feel a bit of speed. I think it's going back to my roots. So putting on a fast shoe and actually trying to run fast is good. Paces here weren't very fast, but I think that's largely the fact it was quite a hilly route. You got 24 meters ascent and descent within 4 minutes, which seems quite a lot to me. It didn't feel that steep, but I think it was about 2.5% grade on average, which is not exactly insignificant, is it? So certainly working hard. which I think is the main thing in sessions. It can get a bit over obsessed with paces in sessions because at the end of the day it doesn't really matter. It depends getting the training effect. So I hope you found this interesting. Like and subscribe on all that, and see you on the next one. Have you got either of these two shoes? Which ones do you prefer? So I'll go back to a bit of footage of the rest of the time at Buckland. Okay, session done. So we've come to the other side of the A25 to Buckland Green here. There's a war memorial and a nice pond, some nice houses here as well. So a nice little place to sort of relax after the session. Yeah, it was a tough one. I think in the end it was just a case of getting it done. 6 by 4 minutes. I slightly miscalculated with the fact that I had to do 3 in each shoe. So instead of doing out and back, I had to do out, then halfway back, and then down again, and then back. So it was the first one in each shoe was downhill. The last one in each shoe was basically all the way uphill, and the one in the middle was uphill, then downhill. So hopefully I got them more or less the same so we can compare. It felt like harder work at the end in the Endorphin Elite, but obviously they were 4th, 5th, and 6th reps. And I just felt like I just felt slightly more comfortable in the Vaporfly 3s because I mentioned that arch report. Just a bit sort of like softer, but in a more sort of responsive way. I think when you get going in the Vaporfly 3s, they feel more like the Vaporfly 1s than you do when you're just sort of warming up in them. Warming up in the Vaporfly 3s isn't the most pleasant of experiences. I've got the Endorphin Elites on now, and then I sort of to walk around in, but I do feel slightly loose in them. I know I said that they do feel very wide. They're very easy to get on, so a good shoe to do Shoeoff in, I must say. You can, there's sort of virtually no heel canter, so you can just sort of literally put it back a bit and in you go, almost like putting on a slipper. So in that sense, it's quite nice. I think it'd be quite a good shoe for duathlon or triathlon, especially if you've got some locked laces. I think you'll be in them within a few seconds. And if your feet is a bit wider than mine, which most people are, I think you won't have any problems with the lockdown there. So yeah, recommendation for the sure. But just sort of feel like they're nice and squishy. Don't really feel the plate that much in the Endorphin Elite, whereas I do feel the plate more in the Vaporfly 3, but in a nice way. I think more sort of helping way, maybe around the arch, a bit forward on the toes a bit more. Just sort of feels like you just got a bit more to it, but yeah, very marginal. So we're going to look at the data, see how we feel, and see what's much in it. But again, maybe it's a case of preconceived ideas with these Shoeoffs and think, well, I prefer the Vaporfly 3. I think was I just trying to prove that? But I certainly was glad to get the Endorphin Elite. I got I think then I got a 10% deal from Sports Shoes with our club discount, so I got them for about $250 rather than $280, something like that. So yeah, it's a lot of money, isn't it? But yeah, if you consider $250 plus a crap pair of shoes, it's one of the Evo 1s, which obviously I couldn't get. So I think when we talk about shoes being £400, I did a little post on the Running Shoe Geeks and said, well, count up all the shoes you hardly ran in because they were terrible. How much did it cost you? I could easily get to $1,000 without even thinking about the shoes. I got to about 50 miles that I didn't really like at all. So if pushed, I could probably put about $2,000 down to wasted shoes. Don't tell Sue though. She might want 6 flights to Portugal with her first class or something if they did them. Bit of railway action coming up. This is the line between Dorking and Gatwick Airport. So we'll just see if we can cross over. That way is to Gatwick and back that way is to Dorking. So we wonder what these are. They look like speed cameras, but I can't imagine anyone's going to be speeding over here. Maybe they are, because I suppose if you come down here too fast and career into the train, that's not going to be good. But yeah, maybe it's sort of a more monitoring thing, but it'll be one of the most remotest speeding tickets you might get, isn't it? And here's another one on this side as well. So yeah, if I was a real train buff, of course I'd know what time the trains were coming and I'd have to show you a train on my end of my video. But yeah, I'm not that sad, I suppose. I need to sort of phone a friend for that one. We've got a plane going ahead, so that's presumably that's going into Gatwick. Right, so it's almost dark now, 5 minutes to go. Most of my warm down has been sort of chatting to the camera, but that was quite a hot session, so I felt like just a little stretch is order of the day. Right, over and out.